Hey everybody, back now with break even. Okay, so that's supplement A. We're going to talk about break even. So assume that you guys already have some training on break even, or already heard about that in a previous class. I think a finance class. You guys studied that as well. But just an overview, some examples with the operations management, right? So first, I want you guys to think: what is break even, right? What is to break even? And you probably know the answer, right? It's not making any money or losing money, right? It's to have your revenue exactly the same as your cost. So here goes a mathematical technique, like a formula, right? That allows us to compare cost and revenue, right? So that's the kind of most classic uh, formula in the business school. That's the one that you really need to know. It's the revenue and cost formula, right? And this formula uses some kind of specific concepts, right? So profit or losses is equals to revenue minus cost, right? And oops, that's the classic revenue cost profit equation, right? So revenue minus cost equals to profit or losses, right? So what does that mean? If my uh, revenues be the same as the cost, I'll have a zero profit or loss, right? And that's what we call break even, right? If my revenue is higher than my cost, then I'll have profit. If my cost is higher than my revenue, then I'll have losses, right? So we all know that. And just to remember you of that, right? So we have a little bit more here to say is that this cost, I'm going to divide it into fixed cost and variable cost. So what is the fixed cost, right? So fixed cost is the one that don't change when you quantity change, right? So think about your rent, right? You're renting a place. The cost will not. McDonald's is renting a place, right? So we talked about McDonald's in the last chapter. It doesn't matter if they sell 100 or 2,000 Big Macs. The rent will be fixed, right? It doesn't change. Variable cost is the one that change with quantity. Okay, so we can say don't change. Don't change with variation in quantity. Okay, and variable cost is the one that change with variation in quantity. Okay, so that one change the variation of quantity. So for example, how many steaks I need, how many or how much I spend on steaks, how much I spend on bread, how much I spend on lettuce and tomato will depend on how many Big Macs that I'm going to sell. Okay, so coming back to this example, here it tells you, right, the techniques that use fixed costs and variable costs, right? So the fixed costs don't change, the variable costs do change, right, with the increase or decrease in quantity.